Good evening. Welcome to the class of 2022. I know for those of us that are not used to hearing those numbers, it just sounds so bizarre and so far off, but what I can tell you right off the bat is the next 4 years are going to go by really, really quick. My name is Mr. McKnight. I will be your son or daughter's principal next year, heading into 9th grade. I'm here with many of my fellow administrators as well as the guidance counselors who are going to be working with your son or daughter, Ms. Gamori and Mr. Montgomery, who I'll introduce here in another second. I want to say thank you all for coming out and driving through the snow tonight. It was nice not to have to deal with that for a couple days, and now we're right back to it, but I guess it is still January, so got a little ways to go. These are the administrators and two of the guidance staff members who will be working very closely with your son or daughter and help them have the most positive experience possible over the next 4 years. I want to introduce all of them. Some of them are here tonight, some are not. Our head principal, Mr. Fetchick. Myself, your 9th grade administrator. Ms. Gamori, the guidance counselor for everybody with a last name starting A through L. Mr. Montgomery, who's our guidance counselor for everybody with the last name M through Z. The rest of the administrators going into next year, Mr. Glavin will be in charge of Unit 10. Mrs. Wolf will be in charge of Unit 11. Mr. Dudziak is going to be coming to us from Memorial. He'll be taking over as the Unit 12 principal. Mr. McMahon, our assistant principal. Mr. Crow, our director of career technical education. And Mr. Casella, the athletic director, all will be joining us here in just a little bit to be part of this presentation. There's a lot of material we're going to get out to you tonight. Please feel free to ask questions directly to the guidance counselors as well as administrators after the entire presentation is finished. And I know you're going to have many other questions that are coming up along the way in the next few months throughout the summer. So we're going to try to get you over that period of time as much information as possible and get those questions answered so you have a very comfortable feeling heading into next year. Our agenda tonight, a transition from middle school, blended learning initiatives, mentor graduation requirements, 9th grade scheduling, additional graduation requirements, and then lastly, athletics. Life at Mentor High School, going into next year, for most of you, it's going to be a much earlier start time than what you may be accustomed to. 7:22 we begin. We're also done at 2:26, which allows us plenty of time for after-school activities, going to work or what be it. And we found this to be very beneficial in the past. Your son or daughter will have a total of 16 mods throughout the school day, 2 mods equaling 1 period. So 8 class periods in total, 48 minutes each. They will also have 5 minutes in between classes, and we found that it really is more than enough time to get from one end of the building to another. Not a whole lot of time for conversing in between, but it's worked out very well in the past, so we're going to continue with that. The lunch modules, your son or daughter going into 9th grade as well as 10th grade, they will have a 22-minute lunch, and then halfway through lunch, they'll be instructed to move over to the study hall area where they're going to be required to be in study hall, again, their 9th and 10th grade year. And then after that, going into 11th and 12th, we grant those students the freedom to be within the cafeteria for the entire lunch period. And this has really helped in the past with a lot of your son or daughter's activities as well as developing study habits. That time is very beneficial. All students will be issued an individual locker within the building. We ask they don't give that combination out to any of their friends, although many do. We've had very few issues with that in the past, but this is where they'll be able to store all their material. And all the physical education classes will be receiving a gym locker as well, in addition to their regular locker within the building. So they'll have an area to store those belongings down there, just as they have in the middle schools. A couple slides here we're just going to discuss very briefly life at the high school as opposed to what maybe they're used to at the middle schools. Students at now the high school are given much more choices, not only as far as classes that they're available to take over the next 4 years, but many opportunities both within extracurricular athletics as well as clubs. I can tell you right off the top here, we have to have a club or a sport for just about everybody. And if we haven't had it already, we're probably looking to create it moving forward. If there's one thing, and we've emphasized this, myself and the guidance counselors, when we had the opportunity to meet with your son or daughter over the past 3 days, we've gone into the middle school and spoken with all of them. The main point of emphasis is get involved. Get involved, be it a club or activity. The majority of the students that want to quote-unquote fit in or are worried about fitting in because they feel there's so many students here at the high school, the ones that get involved right away, it's a very rewarding high school experience. It's something to throw on a college application, a resume for a future employer. It's something that makes you feel very vested within the community as well as the building itself. We've done feedback surveys with a lot of our athletes and our club members to determine how they feel about those activities going forward, whether a lot of them should continue. And the majority of the feedback is positive. It's something that I would recommend to anybody. If you need help with that coming into the school year, I'm available anytime. Your guidance counselors are great people to be referred to, as well as any teacher within the building, any other administrator or guidance counselor, we can help them out. It's our goal to make this as seamless and as comfortable an experience for you moving forward. So getting involved. Many more courses to choose from, more opportunities to be involved in what we just spoke about, the extracurriculars. The grade point average. Can't stress enough. GPA, if it hasn't started for you already to become important, it's all going to start next year. And it's much more difficult to bring a grade point average up in total over a 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year if you started off very low that freshman year. So you want to hit the ground running. Be prepared to start developing some strong study habits, really paying attention in class. And again, there's a lot of resources here available to you to assist you in that, be it tutoring or math lab, or even we have some guided study halls we can administer with your son or daughter should they need the help. So we have the resources. It's very important that you really get involved and understand how important that GPA is going into that 9th grade year. So as a senior, you don't regret something that happened 4 years earlier. Courses are much more rigorous. Grades determine which colleges you may attend. We have a program we call Naviance. If you haven't heard of it before, it's something your administrators will be bringing you up to speed with over the next 4 years. But that's something that's going to help determine your future moving forward and give you some direction. And we want to make sure that you're on the right track. So taking the right classes, meeting with your guidance counselors, getting you on a pathway for a future that you'd like to be involved with. The goal is when you walk out of here your senior year, you have as many opportunities as possible. And we want you to take advantage of those opportunities. So we don't want to limit those. And we'll try to get you on a pathway early on with something you're comfortable with. Again, consequences for failing grades include having to repeat a grade, having to repeat courses, possibly not graduating on time. There are remedies for those situations. However, all of them involve additional time spent by you. So please, I can't stress enough, really take those opportunities to learn as much as possible. If you need help, seek the help. We're out there looking out for you. Time management has become more of a factor. Balancing your time along with the extracurricular clubs, athletic activities, maybe even a work experience you're participating in. Budgeting that time is critical to make sure you're getting all the necessary information you need and still having somewhat of a social life on the side. Making the right choices. As we all know, adolescence, there's many friends, there's a lot of things going on. There's a tremendous amount of growth that takes place over the course of the students' high school years. we're going to see him through it and to his best of benefit as possible. Please utilize us as resources. Don't be afraid to contact us anytime. Reach out, stop in the building. We're there to help them out. But we want to make sure, again, they have a comfortable feeling throughout their high school career and get as best possible educational outcome as possible. Organization, keeping all the materials in notebooks as many of the students have done in the past. A lot of the materials up here are going to be through the one-on-one devices, the MacBooks that every student has available to them. That's almost replaced the textbook in more ways than one. They're going to use this for online schoolwork, communication with their teachers outside the classroom, submitting questions. A lot of work now can be done outside normal school hours. So more or less when it comes to organizational skills and utilizing, instead of using a notebook or a binder, we're going to have the majority of the material available to them through that MacBook. So learning how to utilize that appropriately, using it as a positive resource, and then using it outside of school hours as a communication tool has really shown to be beneficial to many of our students in the past so far. Self-motivation. We do offer a lot of coursework online, and there are some school activities here. Your son or daughter academically is going to be having experience with online. One of those being online health. They'll take that their sophomore year, and that's going to allow them to experience a completely online classroom with a teacher within the classroom that could also answer questions for them. So when it comes to self-motivation, self-discipline, these online courses, you don't necessarily have somebody looking over your shoulder constantly, plugging away, directing information to you daily, and what the objective is to learn daily. The student can more or less work at their own pace. They can do a lot of work outside of the classroom and then ask questions to that administrator or that teacher when necessary. However, there is a tremendous amount of self-motivation and self-discipline involved with that, so your son or daughter does not get behind. Moving forward, and we put a few illustrations up here of some of the renovations that have been done here at the high school. This is the hub, formerly the media center. What you're looking at right now is a lower level. This is going to be available to your son or daughter in the mornings after school and also during their lunch periods, potentially even study halls. This is more or less a small collaborative work environment where they can work with, getting homework done, getting classwork done, or more or less converse amongst small groups. This is the upper hub, primarily reserved for our online classes. It's more of a quiet atmosphere, somewhat collaborative in the nature that it's set up. However, again, this is where we're going to house our completely online classes. Renovated classrooms, you can see they're much more collaborative now than what we've had in the past. Carpet installed. The chairs move around, they're on wheels. The tables are able to move around on wheels, so teachers have the freedom to structure the classroom however necessary for a lot of the problem-based activities that we've developed over the past couple of years. And we're going to get into graduation requirements, and I'm going to bring up my guidance counselors that your son or daughter are going to be working with. Ms. Gamori, Mr. Montgomery are going to get into a little bit more detail as to the academics.
Good evening, I'm Cindy Gamori, and again I have the students' last names A through L. And talking about the graduation requirements, students need to successfully complete the graduation requirements per the Board of Education. And they also have to complete the 7 required state exams in order to earn a diploma through one of the 3 graduation options. So there are the classes that the students have to complete, as well as the tests that they have to complete, the state testing. So the first state testing option, or the one that everybody starts with at least, is with those state tests. There are 7. The student has to earn a minimum total of 18 points. And there are the 7 classes or areas of the test. There's the Algebra 1. There's the Geometry, English 1 and 2, that's English 9th grade and English 10th grade, American History, and American Government. So those tests are given as the students take those classes. So English 9 at the end of English, or at the end of the 9th grade, after they've completed English 9, they will be taking a state test. Again, for English 2, which is the 10th grade, at the end of the year, they will be taking the state test. So the student has to take the class first before they take the exam, obviously. The government is later. That would be in the junior year. So from the freshman year through the junior year, students are taking these tests each year in order to get the scores. There are also some sub-scores that are specifically needed, but we won't get into those right now. If the student does not make those 18 points, they have another way of earning that test portion, and that is reaching a score on the college exams, the ACT and SAT, of a college-ready amount. So there's scores that the student would need to get if they don't get the 18 points in those state testing areas. This is another option for those students. Also, there's a third way, and that's getting the industrial certification or on the work keys tests. So the first thing that you need to know as freshman parents is we're going to be testing them to get the state testing, but that there are also other options if that does not come through for the students. And then I'll turn it over to my colleague for a couple slides, Mr. Montgomery.
Hi, my name's Ernie Montgomery. I'm ADHD. Kids make fun of me for it. I don't care. I like it. To wake you all up, I'm going to say go Steelers. That's not my fault. That's my parents growed me up in Pittsburgh. I know it's just, thank you. It's just a joke. Couple things that I want to tell you that I think as a parent of a kid who's gone through high school that are really important. Number one, kids are ready to be there. We talk to them individually, and within 3 or 4 days, they really like the high school better than anywhere they've been before. They're ready to move on. Number two, the kids are supported here. We have math lab every period of the day, before school, after school. People say this school is so big, it's impersonal. I have been at Ridge for 15 years, Parma Senior, Job Corps Center, Shaw High School, Valley High School, Patrick Henry Junior High, Audubon, and my kids go to Lakewood. So it's not, I'm preaching the company line, I've seen it around. I give this school the ultimate compliment. If my kids went here, I would be very, very happy. The size is a strength. We have all kinds of diversity, and the kids do get the help they need. The thing that I like the best about Mentor High is I'm going back to 9th grade. My seniors now are young ladies and gentlemen. Your sons and daughters are well taken care of here. There's a lot of support, and they grow. And all the different things in education, I think that's what we care the most about. Kids are taken care of and grow. So before we go into any more of the details, that I think is the bottom baseline. And when Ms. Gamori and Mr. McKnight and I went to the middle school, that's what we tried to portray to the kids. They should also have a list of all the activities. Okay, back to the PowerPoint. Graduate from high school, obviously, is the goal. You need 21 total credits. Credits are earned if you pass a class. Pass a class with an A, 1 credit, B, 1 credit, C, 1 credit, D, 1 credit. A lot of people get credits and grade points mixed up. F, 0 credit, take it over. You have to get all these, and we told the kids, if you get all of these in 3 years, you graduate. It's not 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, it's high school. Don't get these in 4, we have 5 years. So they need to get 4 credits of English, that's basically 1 each year. They need 4 credits of math, 1 each year. 3 credits of science, so some of the students after 3 years, they don't want science. Some of our upper level kids take more, but you need at least 3 credits of social studies. Half credit of phys ed is a state law. every half-year class is a half credit except for phys ed. A semester of phys ed is a quarter credit. I have no idea state law. I don't have a lot of ideas about a lot of state laws, but I still have to follow them. So half credit phys ed is 2 phys ed classes. Half credit of health, that's just 1 class and you're done. And I usually don't even say electives, you just add them all up. Electives, anything not required, as long as you have 21, you're good to go. I will tell you the vast majority of our students do not get 21. They get 22, 23, 24. I have kids, I'm writing letters of recommendation now, that have 29, 30, but that is the minimum. College Core is, I get in trouble and I don't care because I tell parents and kids that going to college is not a very good goal because half the students that go to college do not graduate. I'm telling my seniors right now, look around your door because half of those people will not graduate. What I tell them is college is a school. Prepare yourself for success in school. And I will tell you, Mentor High, we have excellent everywhere, but one of the many things besides your relationships I find excellent, our kids that take honors and upper level kids, 99% of them graduate. They come back from the colleges and tell us, wow, we are so glad we went to Mentor, we know things that don't. So a lot of people are going to go to college, and I tell them, don't prepare to get into it. I'll be honest, with a lot of schools, everybody can get into. Graduating is a whole different thing. So the minimum is 4 English, but what we really stress is colleges reading and writing. The higher level will prepare you for success. 4 credits of math. Some of our top students have algebra already in 8th grade. They're going to have 5, some will have 6. So these are the minimum to get into. More harder is better. 3 science, anybody who's going to graduate from college will take that 4th one. Same thing, 3 social studies, minimum 4 to prepare you for it. 2 world languages, most colleges prefer 3. That 3rd one's a step up, it really prepares you for the rigor of college. Same language, and 1 credit of visual performing arts. It's any art, any music, any performing class combined up to 1 credit. So those are to get into the college, graduate from. We tell kids, challenge yourself in 9th and 10th grade. Maybe that's you. If you do well, you're prepared for. In 11th and 12th, we have a lot of other programs that kids can go into. I had a friend that was not good at school, went into the automotive program. I have 3 college degrees. I'm good at school. Guess who makes more money? Not me. So there are paths to prepare to graduate from college. The high school is getting to know yourself and move forward. Okay, the next slide. Criteria for honors diploma. I'll slow things down and let somebody a little bit more sane. Ms. Gamori's the nice counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. So for graduation, we went over what is needed for that. There are also special diplomas or honors diplomas, and they have more criteria. You'll see that some of the criteria repeats itself, obviously 4 English and 4 math. For the honors diploma, they want more. As I tell the kids, these are students who go above and beyond. So they're looking for 7 of all these criterias. And so the English and the math, everybody will have to graduate anyway. They need 4 credits of science, including, obviously advanced sciences. They need 4 credits of social studies. They need at least 3 years of 1 foreign language or 2 years of 2 foreign languages. They need 1 art credit, whether it's music art or art. They need a 3.5 GPA on a 4.0 scale, and that's based on 9th grade through 12th grade. And or they need a 27 on the ACT test or a 1280 on the SAT test. The SAT and the ACT are college entrance exams. The state has also developed some other honors diplomas that include the STEM diploma, the arts diploma, and then the social science and civic engagement diploma. So these are things just to kind of give you a heads up. So for the 9th graders, they will be scheduling 6 classes each semester. A lot of those will already be recommended by their teachers this year. The English, the math, and the science will be recommended. The world history will be recommended, whether it's the world history class or the honors. The students will also take a Phys Ed 9 and Health, and one will be one semester, one will be the other, the computer chooses. And then they have the opportunity to choose an elective credit, so for a full year. So they could choose a full year class, such as maybe their foreign language or music, or they can choose 2 semester classes. And we'll go over the specific departments.
Once again, is we want you, the main thing, to be comfortable. Your kids are going to a good place. A lot of details. We will help you with all those. Also, this will be posted on YouTube, and Ms. Gamorine will have a link if you want to email it. Also, on the guidance website, all these slides will be there, so don't try and memorize a whole bunch of details. English is very critical because college is reading, writing, speech is reading and writing, life is reading and writing. There's an English 9 class and an English 9 honors that's based on the teacher recommendation. If parents disagree with the teacher, first thing we should recommend is discuss and find out why. The advantage the teachers and the middle school people have is they know the high school classes and teachers. If there is a dispute or an issue later in the year, you can contact us because there are some things we can do. Electives are drum is literature. Kids that take that class love it if that's what they're into. And speech, I've taught in other districts where speech is a graduation requirement. Here it is not, it's just a semester elective. Mathematics, we have one of the best math programs I've ever seen. My high school, they have 7 levels at this high school above my highest high school. I go all the way up to Calc BC. For people that are not good at math, they have, like I said, everyday math lab. They have support, they have co-teachers, there's a zillion things to make sure a student gets the help. Algebra 1 is the majority of students. Algebra 1 honors, a few people took that in 8th grade, that counts for a high school credit. There's geometry, those are only for the people that took the algebra in 9th grade, and geometry honors are for the top of the students. And after that, it really branches out in a lot of ways. Okay, science, I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Gamorine.
Okay, sorry. Science, we have the Physical Science 9, which most of the students take. If they are advanced and have the recommendation, they can take the honors biology. They also have to be in the honors English and the honors math in order to do the honors biology, just so that they are able to be successful in the curriculum, because they will be writing and they will be utilizing that math. Then there's the social studies. The majority of the students will take the world history. We also have the world history honors. And then some electives are contemporary world issues, which I explain as kind of current events, and then world geography as well.
Phys Ed, as I said before, it's a quarter credit for a semester class, so you need 2 classes of Phys Ed. Most students will take Phys Ed 9. All students will take health online. That's a state graduation requirement. There are conditioning classes. I kind of look at those as honors Phys Ed classes. A lot of them are for varsity athletes. If the student signs up for Phys Ed, be aware that to do a conditioning, they have to either come early before school or stay after school, because you can't do a complete cardio good conditioning without that. There is a PE waiver. A lot of state laws that can skip PE. I'll give you a warning. Make sure your students are correct. Number one problem we have with Phys Ed credits are students that say, oh, I'm going to play this sport, and they fill out the waiver and they never turn it in. I have at least 3 students right now, and I'll take at least my fault for not catching them, but I have seniors that are in a 9th grade Phys Ed class. So that is an option, but make sure they fill it out and follow it up. Art, there is a full-year art exploration. That's kind of like the junior high art, a little bit of coverage to go over everything. And then they have a whole bunch of semesters afterwards that they can take if they're interested. Fine art, our fine art program is noted across the state. We send kids to full ride scholarships and win art awards. Those would need the teacher recommendation. That, for a lot of kids that like art, is a make or break, because all of a sudden it's not just fun, it's a very serious study, but the people that come out of there, the work they do is phenomenal. Family and business consumer. We forget with all these credits and requirements and go to college and build a resume. Part of an education is what is it you're passionate about? What do you like? What do you hate? What do you want to do? All of these business and consumer science classes are real life, apply to real things. The number one college major is business, but no business is required to graduate. So that's a good recommendation for those. And I'll give it back to, you have the clicker. Oh, okay. Give it back for family and consumer science.
So family and consumer science, we have 3 foods classes, and then we have other classes that help the students with their life. The teen living, the family living, and the parenting and child development. There are music classes. We have the choir. The men's and the women's choir are where the freshmen will be placed. And then for the band, they have the freshman concert band and the concert orchestra. And marching band, they would be in as well, but that they don't get credit for as a class by itself. It's part of band. We have the technology education. That's the old world of the woodworking and such. The hands-on classes in this department are the electronics technology, where they learn wiring. They actually make a little robot, and the home maintenance and design. That's the one I always want to take, but I haven't taken it. They learn fix-its around the house is the way I say it, a little plumbing, a little wiring. And then the other 3 classes, the engineering technology, the architectural and civil engineering, and the CAD engineering, are utilizing the CAD machine, the computer-aided drafting. So those 3 are utilizing the computer, but they do have some hands-on components to kind of help with the spatial aspect of things as well. We have the world languages. We have the Arabic, German, French, and Spanish. Some of your kids are taking Arabic 1 already, so we have the Arabic 2 for them as well.
Additional graduation requirements are basically state law. They used to have proficiencies, OGTs. The most current version, it starts with this year's seniors, called end of year exams. They take 7 exams and have to pass it. Other than making you aware that these are important, we will monitor it. I would not worry too much at this point. The best way to do well on these tests is to do well in the classes. And if people are having trouble, we intervene. Just so you know, we were the first class that did it. In 4 years, the state has changed the law 4 major times. So they will have to pass it. We'll keep you informed and go forward. It's a pretty complex kind of thing. At any time, Ms. Gamori or I would be happy to give the details of it. Graduation requirements is just how you calculate the points. Those end of year exams at different grades at the end of classes. 1 is the lowest score, 5 is the highest. There's a very complex formula. If you really want to know at any time, we have sheets that make it a whole lot easier to see. That's just to summarize it. 2 things that students really misunderstood. To graduate from high school, no art, no music, no language required. You need the art or music to get into a 4-year college without conditions. You need the language to get into 4-year college without conditions. None required to graduate. They're both excellent classes for the right people also. The last thing that we're going to do before we turn it over is a little bit more about graduation requirements and testing. And Ms. Gamori is honestly, she gets mad at me, one of the best people in the state, because she's been coordinating this ACT and SAT for our district for many, many years.
So the testing Mr. Montgomery is talking about is the ACT and the SAT, the testing to get into colleges. One of those other pathways that the state came up with, the second pathway, is getting a remediation-free score, a college-ready score on one of those tests. So in the junior year, the school will be giving during the school day to the juniors, when we're in the junior year, we'll be getting the test. Right now we do the ACT, and I assume we'll continue with that. And again, that would give them that opportunity if they don't have those 18 points. but also students who are planning to go on to a 4-year school or a 2-year school after Mentor High School would be able to utilize that score as well as their college entrance scores. So in a sense, you're getting a free test, which is really helpful for a lot of our kids here in the district. So, and if nothing else, it's a good opportunity to practice for the test if they are going on to a 4-year school. And next, we're going to introduce Mr. Casella. He is the athletic director for Mentor Schools.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Casella. I'm the athletic director here at Mentor High School, and I'm happy to be here tonight to talk to you a little bit about our athletic program in the Mentor Schools. If you've been involved in our middle school programs, what we do here at the high school is very similar to that, but obviously it's a little bit more intensive. We have much more offerings here at the high school than we did at the middle school. We have 23 varsity sports here at Mentor High. They are all listed up there in front of you. Basically, it's the same way, and same things work pretty much the same as middle school. In order for you to try out for a high school sport, you have to have a current up-to-date physical on file prior to the first day of tryouts. And we use a system called Final Forms, which is on the district website, which is all the eligibility paperwork, emergency medical information, concussion testing, all of those things that are required now by the state of Ohio prior to an athlete competing. All of those forms and information have to be done prior to the first practice of those particular sports. Our fall practices, the first official day of tryouts is on August 1st for our fall sports, but most of them will start at some point over the summer with conditioning programs, camps, and things like that. Most of our fall athletic teams, the coaches will get down into the middle schools and be holding meetings or holding meetings here at the high school to give parents and those things and those people dates and information that they will need in order for the athlete to play a fall sport. One of the big things that you also need to be concerned about as we're talking about classes and scheduling is that there is an academic eligibility. We're student athletes and we promote the student athlete here. So in order for you to participate fully in sports at Mentor High School, you have to have a 2.0 GPA in the previous quarter, and you have to be passing 5 full credit classes or the equivalent, or the semester equivalent. Now basically that means that you have to be passing 5 classes in anything except for physical education. Physical education, because it's only a quarter credit per semester, doesn't count towards eligibility. I always tell our student athletes, if you're struggling or if you're taking PE, that you make sure that you have your 6 credits. Our guidance counselors are really good about asking the questions whether or not you're an athlete when they go to schedule, but make sure, parents, that your son or daughter is carrying 6 classes each semester. That will guarantee their eligibility. If they happen to slip up one quarter and fail a course, they still have the 5 classes they can. I cannot, even if they have above a 2.0 GPA, if they're not passing 5 classes, they cannot participate. So that's very important to understand and know. Make sure that they're doing those things. If you have questions about that, they can talk to the coach. You can call me, anything along those lines. But make sure that you're passing the 5 credits and carrying that 2.0. We try to communicate through the athletic department. I do a lot through our website and through our Twitter account at Mentor Athletics. Also through school announcements and things along those lines as far as when meetings are, when parent meetings are, when tryout information. All of those things will be coming out through our Twitter account, through the website, and through Final Forms. If you played football last fall at Memorial or Shore or Ridge, you'll probably get an email blast from me at some point giving you information about football camps and things along those lines, or about cross-country tryouts and things along those lines. So look for those pieces of information, because that's how we try to communicate out throughout the school year. If you need anything or have any questions, we'd love to have you. I guess the final thing that I want to say, even if athletics is not your child's niche or what part of high school, just get involved. Mentor High School has tons and tons of opportunities, whether it's athletics, whether it's drama, whether it's music, through the different clubs we have. make them find their groove, make them find their niche in the high school, make them find the place where they feel belong, because they'll have a much better high school experience with that. So with that, I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn things over to our Career Technical Education Coordinator, Mr. Jason Crow.
Hey, good evening. First, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Career Tech. It's not the vocational school that you are accustomed to. It has changed. You know, Career Tech is now for all sorts of students. We have students in Career Tech that are in CCP, AP. Some of our kids go to Carnegie Mellon, Case Western, pretty prestigious schools. We also serve students that are looking to go right to the workforce. Mentor Schools prides itself on the 3 E's: enrolled, enlisted, or employed. And I really think Career Tech does a great job of that. Career Tech, our programs are 2 years long, junior and senior year. You would apply to them your sophomore year. So this really isn't, you don't really need to know this for next school year, but just know it's coming as a sophomore. A couple other things to note about Career Tech. We're part of a consortium of Wycliffe and Euclid, so you're going to hear the word or the name Lakeshore Compact a lot. That's our name for our consortium. So we have students, Mentor High School students, that go to Euclid High School for some of our Career Tech kids, our Career Tech programs. We have students that go to Lincoln Electric for their Career Tech program. We have students that go to Lakeland Community College, the Culinary Bistro over in Euclid. So we're spread out throughout, I guess, two communities. 26% of our students in the junior and senior class are involved in Career Tech. So it's not just a few students. A good amount of our kids are there. I can't stress enough, if you're someone that doesn't think you're going to go to college, please come to Career Tech. We're going to provide you some skills that you're going to be able to get employed immediately after high school. And if you are going to go to college, I still recommend coming to Career Tech if it fits your schedule, and most likely it will. I think it gives students a huge advantage over their peers, not just when they're in the immediate future, but when they leave college. When they go for that initial job interview, they can sit down with their employer and say, I wanted to do this when I was 15 years old. I got involved in a high school program then. A couple stories I always like to tell is, we love it when kids come to our programs and it kind of, I guess, lights a passion. It lets them know, this is really what I want to pursue. But also, we have some students, and I always think it's a success story, they come to our programs and they realize it's not something they want to do. After, going through our program for free for a year or two, they don't have to go to college and spend $50,000, $60,000 in 4 years of their life to realize that career field isn't for them. We have 17 different programs that span 11 different career fields. And I've yet to meet a student that has enrolled in one of our programs and has regretted it. I'll be in the lobby afterwards if you do have any questions. But just know this is something that you apply for your sophomore year. Attendance, GPA matters. So please, have a great freshman year, so that way you are eligible for our programs through Mentor High School, through the Lakeshore Compact. And have a great first year at Mentor High School next year, and finish your middle school year strong. I believe up next is our building principal, Andy Fetchick.
Thank you, Mr. Crow. Welcome, everybody. For a point of reference, I sat in your seat last year. I have a ninth grader currently. I do want the parents to know that you will survive middle school. You will not kill or eat your child. However, my wife came awfully close. When they come here, you will see a great change. You've heard all of it from Mr. Montgomery, Mr. Crow, Mr. McKnight, Ms. Gomori. It's a great change. It's one of the reasons why I like high school so much. From that ninth grade year to the time they graduate, to see those seniors now, there's a huge difference. They're talking about job opportunities and what they want to major in and where they're going to school, and it's a pretty neat experience. But what I want to emphasize to all of you is that Mentor High is a big place. And when I started here, it was very overwhelming to me. And I thought, as I was walking the halls, how do these 14, 15-year-old kids feel welcome? How do they feel part of this? There's 2,600 other kids. Well, what I've come to realize is with that big school comes big opportunities. And there are plenty of them. There's lots of things to get involved with. And occasionally, that involvement tends to silo us and put us into our own groups where we don't always associate with others. And one of the things we've been working on the last year is trying to create a culture that's going to change some of that here at the high school. And we're going to actively care, or we're going to make intentional acts of kindness among each other. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but it does work. And what I've noticed is kids getting together and creating opportunities for other kids to bring them together to do greater good, to raise funds, to have a campaign of kindness, to reach out to others in need. Just Monday, we had a group of about 100 students that worked with the Core Foundation, a group that started at Virginia Tech, that now work out of Washington, D.C., helping to promote leadership among that group. Those students were identified by their teachers, not because they were the smartest or the hardest working, but because they showed potential leadership. And we want to recognize that here at Mentor High School and promote that. That's one of those soft skills that when you walk out of these doors, that's going to separate you, and you're going to be able to say you're from Mentor, and people are going to be able to recognize that's a Mentor kid. I could tell from their leadership, from the way they hold themselves, the way they actively care for their community. So while you are walking into a big school and you are going to feel overwhelmed at times, know that there are people here that will be caring about you, that do care, that are concerned. And it's going to show a little bit in orientation this fall when you come back. Some of those students that we were talking about that we worked with on Monday have a plan to start putting some things together to make that first day and those first weeks feel a lot better and a lot like you're coming to a smaller community school. And that's our goal. So without further ado, I want to introduce a group of people that all of you students will meet throughout the course of your 4 years of Mentor High. This is going to be our department chairs. I think there's enough chairs for everybody, but if they're not, guys, if you can come on up. What I plan on doing over the course of a few years, the department chairs had come up with some questions, a lot of common questions that are asked by the parents. And rather than have all of you have to ask all those questions or put you on the spot or make you feel like you need to stick around, we put them all together, and I'm going to do kind of a cheesy talk show type of format, and I'm going to ask some questions. All of our department chairs have a microphone, and they'll be able to answer those questions, and hopefully they address most of your concerns. If not, we're going to be here at the end to answer some more questions. Mr. Coleman, you have the microphone? Excellent.
I do.
All right, our first question is to our English department chair, Mrs. Tracy Coleman. What is the difference between Honors English 9 and English 9 at Mentor High School?
Thank you. This may be on your minds because your child has either been recommended for Honors English or just English 9. Now, those of you who have older children may remember that we used to have 3 types of English in the 9th grade: Honors, College, and 9th grade English. And now we have 2. We have Honors and English 9. So if your child is willing to take an accelerated course and willing to do a little bit more reading and writing, I would say that Honors English 9 would be a great placement. English 9 will also have reading and writing skills, a little bit less homework, but really and truly we feel that if your child feels ready for an honors class, 9th grade is a great time to try that honors class. They can always move to a different class in 10th grade, but we want students to stretch themselves. We want students who feel like they can handle an honors level with a little bit faster pace and maybe a little bit more homework should try those. Now at the same time, English 9 is also a great class. Students there will also meet the English standards and read and write and speak. So the main difference between the courses is Honors English does have a little more homework. They do move at a faster pace, but we do recommend that students really do try to challenge themselves.
Thanks, Ms. Coleman. Mr. Skilton, you're up next. Mr. Skilton's our math department chair. What math course should my son or daughter take as a freshman, and are students able to take Honors Geometry and Honors Algebra 2 at the same time?
If students are currently in Honors Algebra 1, they could take next year Honors Geometry. If they have room in their schedule and are looking at possibly a career related to math, it's a good idea possibly to take Honors Geometry and Honors Algebra 2 at the same time if they have that room in their schedule to get even further ahead with their math careers. If they are not in the honors track, they would be taking Algebra 1 as a freshman and go through their 4 credits there and still be college ready for mathematics.
Thanks. Mr. Pollack is our Health Physical Education Department Chair. Do high school students need to wear uniforms for their PE classes?
Students do not need to wear a uniform as they did in middle school at the high school. They can bring their own clothing from home, athletic attire that they can feel free to be comfortable in doing fitness, exercise, and athletic sports, and things. They must change from what they wear in school to what they are going to participate in the physical education class. We don't want them wearing the things that they wore throughout the day that is nicer, and then going on to another class and stinking up the room or ruining something that, you know, they should probably care about it, nice clothing. So they do not need to wear a uniform though.
Can you talk a little bit about the conditioning class that Mr. Montgomery mentioned?
Yes, Mr. Montgomery did a very good job of describing it though. For the most part, it is a elite training class. This is a class that is geared towards the student athletes. We offer it twice each semester. Again, it is a class that Mr. Montgomery had mentioned. It's a very intense class. We start before the normal school day starts and we end late after the school day ends. Most of the varsity coaches are highly encouraging that their athletes get involved into these classes. The class is designed to make our sports here at Mentor High School better. This is not a class though for somebody who likes to work out. Okay, these are classes that we are training students to become better in their athletic field.
Thanks. Mrs. Kane, our art department chair. Can you tell us what the difference between the classes Art Exploration, Art Foundations, and Fine Art 1 are?
Absolutely. Art Foundations is 1 semester and it's worth half a credit. Art Explorations is 1 year and worth 1 credit. A lot of our 9th graders opt to take that one because it's kind of a one and done. You get your fine arts credit and you don't have to go on in art if you don't want to. Both Art Explorations and Art Foundations give students a sample of other art classes we do offer at Mentor, including working with clay and ceramics or working with glass and metal smithing and things like that. Fine Art 1 is a drawing-based course that your son or daughter would have to be recommended into from 8th grade, and it is for a student who really loves art and may or may not want to go on with their art, but it's a talent and something that they would like to pursue potentially at the college level.
And one more question. If my son or daughter is recommended for Fine Art 1, do they need to take it this year or can they take it the following year?
So the fine art recommendation does not expire. If your son or daughter cannot fit fine art in their schedule in 9th grade, then they can pick it up in 10th grade. However, they would have to take Fine Art 1. They can't jump into Fine Art 2. So, like I said, the art recommendation does not expire.
Thanks. I'll turn it over to Mr. Butler, our science department chair. Mr. Butler, how should I know whether my son or daughter should take physical science or honors bio as a freshman?
About 7 years ago, the science department made a decision. We wanted to open up an opportunity for kids to move up and take honors bio. As a parent, I'm in your shoes. We debated this. I am telling you, if you have any doubt, take physical science. Okay? That's what most people do. That's what both of the Butler kids do. Okay, if you have a son or daughter that is in the marching band, they run cross country, they're in the swim team, they're active in art, they're active in church, they have all these things going on. They're in honors English, they're in honors math, take physical science. However, if you have a son or daughter that came out of the womb and they are science kids and they have been dying to be part of Mr. Ramsey's Science Olympiad and science is their thing and that is their thing, then go ahead and take honors bio. Why would I have my son or daughter move up to a higher level class? We wanted to give the top, the very top, less than 10% of this class an opportunity to then take honors chem as a sophomore, then as a junior take AP bio and AP chemistry, and then take AP physics as a senior. So as a parent, if I don't put my kid in that class, am I now holding them back? No. It is the one class that they can hop onto the honors track as a sophomore. 2/3 of the kids right now enrolled in honors biology are sophomores. They will take honors chemistry as a junior, and then as a senior they can take physics as well as AP Chem or AP Biology. They simply can't take all of the AP sciences. If there's a doubt, wait a year. If your son has a backpack that is the black hole and stuff goes in and it never comes out and he's a disorganized mess, wait a year. Let him get himself organized. Afterwards, I'll be out there to try to help you a little bit. Good luck.
Thank you. A couple more questions. Mrs. Waltz, Social Studies Department Chair. If you could, what is the difference between Honors Modern World History and Modern World History?
Both world history classes are available to ninth graders. Both of them teach history in a chronological manner. Both use primary sources. Both teach historical thinking skills. What is different is the scope and the pace. Regular world history will pick up where the 7th grade world history course left off. So approximately the year 1700. For you history folks, that's about the scientific revolution. Ooh, that's great. Then they will go to present. The Honors World History course will have a greater scope. They will start in around 1500 with the voyages of Columbus and permanent contact between the worlds, and end up at the present time. The Honors World History class will go into the primary sources a little bit more deeply. They'll move a little bit more quickly. They'll go into deeper historical thinking skills. And there is more writing, and there would be more homework, just like we heard in the English class. But if your child has a passion for history, the Honors World History class will give them that greater depth. If your child wants to challenge themselves, himself or herself, they will have that opportunity in the Honors World History class. If your child wants to prepare for future AP classes, advanced placement classes in social studies, the Honors World History class would be a great choice. The Honors World History class is also weighted because of the extra work, so that also is something that some students take into account as well. Both are great classes. One just goes a little bit more in depth than the other.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Hoos, our Special Education Department Coordinator. How are services determined at the high school level?
Okay, so with special education, the most important thing to keep in mind is that there are so many different students out there, and that you have an IEP team behind you and professionals helping you make decisions about your course of study. We start by we go down to the middle schools just with the counselors, and we talk about every single student. We look at their schedule and make sure it matches with services on the IEP. The IEP is a living document. It can be amended and changed at any time, so that's important to keep in mind too. If there's concerns, please contact your case manager. Case managers are typically assigned a few days before school starts once schedules are finalized, because we really try to make sure that every student sees their case manager at least in one class period a day. The families that have students enrolled in units, you'll be hearing from your teachers, and most of them have you come up over the summer, you meet, you kind of talk about how the day looks and things like that. A couple other things we have coming up to help with the transition for special ed students. We have a middle school special ed transition night scheduled probably sometime in the spring. We'll be getting those dates out to the middle schools. We also do a tour, so the students can actually come up during the day and walk around. They go to a class. We kind of make it fun for them so that they can get comfortable and meet some new faces. And then we also encourage students to come up to the school when they get their schedule to walk it, so that they can find their classes, maybe meet a couple teachers if they're in the building.
Thanks. One more question. How do student responsibilities look different at the high school level compared to the middle school?
So middle school, I feel like, is all about preparing to get to the high school, and then once the students get here, we start preparing them for the adult world. So it's important to keep in mind that goal that you have for your student with education, employment, and independent living. and then modeling the classes so that they're prepared for their next step. So for instance, we have a lot of students with disabilities that go on to a 4-year school. So we would want to work with those students to make sure they're in the college prep classes and start weaning accommodations and modifications away so that they're prepared once they get to the college. We also have a lot of students that don't go to college that we work with adult services, opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities to get them that experience that they need. We really try to involve students at the high school level in the IEP process, so they're coming to meetings, they're an active participant in their course of study and their IEP. At the high school level, if there are any concerns, like I said, the case manager is the first person to start with, and they can get you in contact with the teachers. Email is a great way. There's a lot of teachers and a lot of things going on in the different classes, so that's important to keep in mind too, just keeping that contact open.
Thank you. The last set of questions is for our World Language Department coordinators, Mrs. Cricks and Ms. Friend. My son or daughter is currently a C in Spanish 1, French 1, or German 1. Should he or she take Spanish, French, German 2 next year?
So what we recommend in order for your student not to struggle in level 2 is that they have at least 75% in the level 1 language, and that's the bare minimum. So if they have a 75% because they neglect homework and they're not very organized, and their test scores, let's say, are an 80% or more, I would say they might do okay in level 2. But if they're working really hard and are barely in that C level, we would recommend building a stronger foundation in the first year before going on.
Is it possible to switch from one language to a different language in 9th grade?
Sure. At the beginning of any year, you can start a new language. As you heard about the honors diploma, it's a good idea to take 2 years of one language and then maybe switch and try something else. Or, because we start in the 8th grade, you have the opportunity to do 3 years of a language and 2 years of another, or any combination of that 2-3 year thing. So I would suggest you take as many languages as you can and get as much experience as you can to prepare you for the world. That'd be great.
Excellent, thank you. Before we wrap up, I would like to give our department coordinators a round of applause. They don't need to be here tonight, but they feel it necessary to reach out to you to make sure this experience transitioning is successful. So thank you. Before we wrap up, again, I'd just like to welcome the class of 2022. Mr. McKnight, that does sound kind of weird. You're correct. I hope that your experiences at Mentor High are terrific, and wish all of you well. We will be around to answer questions, and we will be in contact soon, and we will meet all of you again in August. Thank you.